In Bihar elections, CPIML has become a big factor this time. They are not the largest party in the Mahagathbandhan, but if Mahagathbandhan wins, a large portion of the credit for this may go to CPIML because after BJP and RJD, they are the third party which has cadre base in the state. They have workers across the state, across the constituencies. So, to talk to us about the prospects of CPIML, about the outcome of Bihar election, how the two alliances are going to perform, we have with us CPIML General Secretary Dipankar. So, welcome Dipankar to Frontline.
Yeah, thank you for it.
As you move in the state, we talk to people, we find that suddenly CPIML is being talked about in much more louder voice this time. How come CPIML becomes a factor, so big factor in this election?
No, because last time we won 12 seats, so that gives you some added visibility. We have been there on the ground all the time, but many people they actually look at the election results. So through that electoral lens, so we have become more visible through the electoral lens. But our ground level presence has also expanded. That has also grown, and because it's a bipolar election, two coalitions. And we have been playing quite a proactive role in this coalition. So I think people also appreciate that role, that extra role that we are playing, apart from our own independent initiatives and a party. Yeah.
Dipankar, as you move in the constituencies, especially the constituencies which were one wide left in past, we saw the red has been replaced by saffron, if I may just use the color coding thing. So why this decline of left happened in Bihar, and why? What are the reasons you see that now there is some kind of resurgence?
No. I think you said that CPIML is being more talked about now, and then you are saying the left, eroding or something. I don't think that's the case. See, because BJP has obviously grown. All these years, people initially used to look at Nitish Kumar. Nitish Kumar used to say that I will never make any compromise with communalism. So people used to kind of trust him. So the BJP remained somewhat distant. BJP's presence was considered a bit remote. But now, ever since Modi came to power in Delhi and all the more so in the last 5-6 years, the BJP is in a hurry to grab power. So that's why BJP's aggression, its aggressive presence right from the ground to the power of the top. So it has become more visible. So that's it. And I think it's quite expected in today's era of fascism. So on the one hand, you will definitely have this aggressive saffron kind of expedition. And who else but for the left, but for the red in Bihar to really take it head on. So we are doing that.
When you come to Bihar, there's an increasing feeling that there is kind of stasis. State is not moving. You go to villages, you find the same problem there which were 10 years before, 20 years before. What ails this state?
They have been talking about development, and development we will tend to associate it with dynamism. You don't see any dynamism on any level here in Bihar. It's a kind of complete, stagnation now. There is a collapse of governance, and I call it flyover-bypass model of development. As long as you are on the flyover, and now we have very long, fancy flyovers, so everything appears very glittery. The moment you get down, the moment you from the bypasses you enter the city or towns or the interior of Bihar, you'll find everything in shambles. I mean, no infrastructure really. Migration remains probably more now than before. And poverty, then debt burden. It's structural problem. Bihar has been, and over the, I think, centuries, Bihar has been there is an unwritten consensus which treats Bihar as a labor export zone. So Bihar is expected to export cheap labor, and that helps everybody to keep the labor cheap in Bihar, so that the wage level of the entire Indian working people that remains depressed. So abundant supply of cheap Bihari labor that suits everybody across the Indian corporate sector. So that's how it is. I mean, there is no real attempt to break this whole structural kind of obstacle. And the things which were needed to create the dynamism from land reform and agrarian reforms to some major push for education, health sector, agro-based industries, nothing of that sort. So there has been no policy actually for Bihar. And all this talk of development and all, that is basically just some kind of spectacle. You see the examples they will give: airports, new terminal, metro, flyovers. So these are the common metaphor for development. Nobody will talk about jobs. Nobody will talk about the income level of people, average income in Bihar. So that's how it is.
But Dipankar, if I might just be devil's advocate here, as we've been traveling across the state, we found an astonishing absence of anti-incumbency against Nitish, despite having been in power for, well, not 2 decades. Do you believe, given before, say, 20 years earlier, given the sort of state that Bihar was in, do you think that the obvious signs of development that you mentioned, the flyovers, the roads, the ability to get from one place to another far more easily than one ever did before, do you believe that has actually impacted people? And because people are saying, Nitish ke dekho kya kuch nahi kar diya. So do you think that for the people, this has been enough?
No, certainly not been enough. See, I think I'll make a distinction. Nitish Kumar is no longer actually seen as the center of power, as the face of the government. So when people say that there is not enough anger or fatigue around Nitish Kumar and the people, and some people may even say that there is a bit of sympathy for Nitish Kumar. That's because of probably how he is being treated by the BJP, right? Here is a tall Bihari leader who has been around for so many years, and how he is being treated by Delhi, by the Gujarati, BJP leadership. So that is one reason. The other reason could be his health. People are worried about his health. But as far as the government is concerned, I think there is tremendous anger against the government, against its failures, its refusal to address any of Bihar's real structural concerns. So jobs, wages, uh, and then complete, what should I say, non-responsive government. The government doesn't listen to anybody. So, for example, now they are saying that we are giving 10,000 rupees to women, we are giving this, something for the unemployment allowance to the students, unemployed people. But the unemployed people, every time they have been talking about jobs, about regularization, against the paper leak, against this mafia which dominates the education sector, examinations, recruitment, everything. How they are being treated. It's the same as in Nepal and Bihar. If you talk to the Gen Z, they have the same anger. The only thing is there, people have been gunned down, there have been firing. Here it's more lathi charge. That's it. So I think the anger is very much there because the government is seen to be a very bureaucratic kind of a government. And increasingly, you have the real coalition which governs Bihar. It's not the political coalition that you see, BJP, JDU, LJP. That's not. It's a coalition is a very corrupt bureaucracy, a police network which is now in tandem with the criminals of Bihar. So crime, police, and bureaucracy, the mafia. That's the real coalition which is actually governing Bihar. And Nitish Kumar calls it good governance. So people are seeing through it.
But Nitish Kumar is also the responsible for bringing down the criminality in the state to quite some extent.
Not really. I mean, not really. I mean, right in the middle of this election, when Dular Chand Yadav gets killed, the way he got killed, it is not just he was just shot down. So the brutality you saw quite visibly right in the middle of the election when Modi is talking about Jungle Raj. So here you are in the middle of a Maha Jungle Raj. You can call it. Bihar uses the word Maha, Dalit, Mahadalit. So if that was jungle, this is Maha Jungle now. So I think that's very clear. So crime, even if you look at the data, murders, rapes, and every section of society, right? In Patna, we are sitting here, Gopal Khemka, probably the best known one of the businessmen traders, he was killed. So there is absolutely no response from the government. I think it is just a myth that has been created that the law and order situation has improved in Bihar. It had, but not now. Over the years, now there is a steady decline, and law and order is in very bad shape.
Aniki mentioned earlier about how there is increased relevance for the NL in Bihar, across Bihar. But in the same breath, we also spoke of creeping fascism, which is phenomenon, a global phenomenon at this point. But interestingly, in Bihar, we found that people are speaking more of a Nitish versus Tejashwi sort of a contest, and Modi is not figuring in the discourse too much. Of course, he addresses rallies and there's huge attendance, but Modi doesn't seem to be. Do you believe that there is some reason behind votes?
No, I think the anger against Modi is also quite palpable. Quite palpable. In 2015, for example, when Nitish Kumar was with Lalu, and Modi kind of tried to test his independent strength, and then Bihar told him that that was Modi emerging in Delhi, and he offered so much for the Bihar, and Bihar just didn't care. And even now, before 24, why was it that Modi was so desperate to bring Nitish Kumar back? Hijacking, almost, we use the word that he has been hijacked. Because they knew that without Nitish Kumar, they didn't really have a leg to stand upon in Bihar. So I think Modi, still people don't perfectly understand. Yesterday he had the road show, and there's no response. People are completely fed up with all those phrases. Nothing. It doesn't evoke any mass response anymore. It's a very organized, orchestrated kind of mobilization. These Jivika women, who are supposed to be the community mobilizers for self-help groups, now they are actually the electoral mobilizers. They are the people, they are being threatened that you will have to mobilize this many women in Modi ji's this rally, this show, Nitish Kumar's rally. So this is what the Jivika self-help network is being used for. So, but for this kind of pressure, mobilization, threat, allurement, there is no real popular support for the BJP in Bihar.
Dipankar, you talked about this Gulachan Yadav killing. Do you think that this has resonance beyond the law and order issue? Do you think that it can kick up a new kind of divisiveness in the society?
No, it is there. Actually, look at it. BJP's, if you look at the BJP list of candidates, 101 candidates, and you have at least in Bihar, you have the latest caste data. In many other states, you don't have it. They haven't had a caste census yet. But Bihar, you have the latest up-to-date figures of which caste has how much, what kind of population. So, on one hand, Bihar is talking about 65% reservation. On one hand is the BJP slogan, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. And they are trying to project themselves as champions of OBC empowerment, EBC empowerment, Mahadalit empowerment. And then look at the BJP list of candidates, 101 candidates, and absolutely not a single Muslim. So first 15 to 20% of the population excluded straight away. And then the interesting thing is 49 seats are reserved. I use the word reserved for them. Reservation for the privileged, reservation for the powerful. So protecting the people who have been in power, who have been the more privileged sections in society for so long. And 49 out of 101 for 4 castes who actually account for only 15 to 16% of population in Bihar. So that is what the BJP actually stands for. So people look at BJP. BJP is not seen as just the party which promotes hate and communal polarization. BJP is the party which stands for feudal restoration in Bihar. So to push Bihar back to those days when the feudal forces, even if, of course, Zamindari has been abolished on paper, land holding, the size has gone down, but look at the power, look at their privileges, that institutionalized kind of power. So that has started eroding post-Mandal. But BJP wants to bring it back Its model is the Yogi Adityanath bulldozer model. So they stand for the bulldozer Raj in Bihar. So I think that is there across the board. Even in JDU, you will find that there are two sections. One section which actually has the socialist lineage, which has emerged from the Janata Dal kind of thing with under Nitish Kumar. But they are definitely, absolutely, they don't trust the BJP, they don't trust the RSS. They are quite fearful of this whole feudal restoration. So that's why I think you are right. I mean, if we look at it socially, and I can see many such social groups. For example, if you had been to Tarari, our candidate is Madan Chandravanshi. And when he was canvassing, asking for votes, passing through maybe some dominant upper caste village, and he was assaulted. So it's the same thing which happened 60 years ago when Naresh Ram was fighting the Mukhya election, and the challenge was how dare some Dalit guy wants to become the Mukhya. So the same feudal power, and now this feudal power, which used to be very localized feudal power, it is having some kind of reinvigoration, infusion with the corporate power, and promoted by this whole fascism. So feudalism to fascism is a continuum in Bihar. And fascism, this whole fascist environment has kind of injected some new life in the feudal forces in Bihar, who are again looking for some kind of restoration of their privileges and power. That's why you find that even within JDU, even within the NDA camp, I can see a social disquiet, a social kind of rift.
That brings me to this question that as a party with a certain ideological bent, being there for a center, how difficult is for an ideology-based party to survive in Bihar? Because we are in a state where we said that Rome Pope ka Madhepura Gop ka, or Aurangabad is the Chittorgarh of Bihar. So, and your party, which has Mr. Vinod Mishra in past, Ramadhar Singh in Bihar was a big leader, how do you see this interplay of caste and ideology playing in your favor or against you?
No, I mean, see, caste is a reality. Caste is not something fossilized, right? Had it been some kind of relic of the past, then there would have been no such kind of caste dynamism. So, caste as a social marker, as a social unit, it is a very dynamic thing. And caste doesn't operate in a vacuum. And it's not cast in stone, right? So caste is something very dynamic. So caste, class, and gender. The three, you will have a lot of intersection. The three, there is interplay. And what is ideology? Ideology is all about social transformation, about empowerment of the disempowered people, about the underprivileged for their rights. So basically, you have to address the caste question, you have to address the class question, you have to address the gender question. And all three are always, there is some kind of interplay. So that's why I think ideology is useless if it cannot navigate this terrain. This is your society. So an ideology, if it cannot address these complexities of the society and cannot fight for transformation through this whole maze of backwardness and every attempt to push you back, pull you down, then becomes useless. So we are just trying to do that. So for us, ideology is not something like you talk about nice things, nice goals, but you address it here and now. This is the society that needs to be transformed, and these are the materials that you have, and the society is mired in caste. And I think often people who talk about transcending caste and rising above this and above that, so they basically don't want any transformation. They want this caste to be accepted as something normal. This is standard. This is the thing, natural. So I think every time the lower caste, they challenge this so-called natural order, they are accused of being casteist.
Sheikh Bihar. Earlier we spoke about the certain stasis in society. And what you see by your traveling is also certain sense of resignation of people. Okay. So given this, and for instance, one young macro does that Prashant Kishore's post-cast kind of discourses that he is not quite, is not been understood or is not been identified by the masses. Do you think that Bihar is ready to speak up against feudalism? Do you think that this is a conversation that they're ready to have at this point?
Yeah, sure. I mean, see, feudalism has definitely, Bihar has kind of moved on. Okay. But maybe there are some, what you call remnants of feudalism. And as I say, there is an attempt to restore the feudal order. So Bihar is definitely against this feudal restoration. And people, this is very common, social justice. Now, only thing what is needed is social justice. It got kind of reduced to the reservation. And even reservation became, 50% reservation, the theft of reservation. Very small section actually gets the benefit of reservation. Because there is a large section of landless and resourceless people who are not in a position to access the benefits of reservation, or the rights of reservation, to expand and enrich this whole discourse of reservation. So now there is, after the caste census, there is a talk of 65% reservation. In Tamil Nadu, you have 69% because it is in the 9th schedule. And in Bihar, that had to be done so that the Bihar had its rightful share in reservation, 65%. That didn't happen. So I think in the context of just expansion of reservation and in the larger context of social transformation, education, jobs. So I think what you see is a certain enrichment of the whole discourse of social justice, and now people are increasingly talking about justice, social as well as economic. For example, Tejasvi, the way he coined it in 2020 election, that from social justice we have to now move on to economic justice. So that economic justice thing, jobs, without jobs you cannot really have dignity. Without any stable income, without any secure livelihood, dignity also becomes an empty word. So dignity, social dignity, backed by empowerment, backed by secure livelihood and job security. That's the kind of discourse that people are having.
So Dipankar, you talk about moving on to economic justice in a society which is primarily agrarian. The issue of land reform has kept eluding the state. Do you think it is still an issue, and why no party talks about it?
Well, it's an issue. I think see we have been talking about it, and we are fighting for it. So basically, whatever land reform has actually happened in Bihar, not through legislative kind of changes, it's because of the people's assertion on the ground. Because the judiciary, the bureaucracy still remains very, very feudal kind of dominated here. So there are a lot of interests at work which absolutely do not want any land distribution, any kind of land reform. But certain issues of, let's say, Bandyopadhyay committee, it talked about land redistribution. Now maybe on the question of land redistribution per se, agricultural land, there is still no consensus among the major parties. But certain other aspects, for example, this Narendra Modi had promised universal housing by 2022. They no longer talk about it. And the housing scheme, it has stopped in Bihar. And the excuse that they have is that there is no land. So where do we build the houses? You can't build it in here, you need land for building houses. So that question, residential plots. So 5 decimal land in rural areas and 3 in urban areas. So that has found a prominent place in our collective charter of commitments. Then the question of tenants' security of tenant farmers. Not their land right, but the security of their cultivation. Their rights is, let's say, compensation and subsidies and so on, credit and so on and so forth. And then the third question, land question now is not just about land redistribution. It's also about the landed sections of peasantry. Now there is a land survey. You have so much of land uncertainty, insecurity, land which people have been cultivating for decades, and the state claims that this is our land. And they are being evicted from the land without any compensation. Large scale land acquisition. The 2013 land acquisition law, it doesn't apply in Bihar. I mean, nowhere it is actually being practiced. So we want the 2013 law where there can be no acquisition without consent. And for acquisition, you need compensation at 4 times the market rate. So we want that to be enforced strictly in Bihar. So there are many land related questions, from starting with land redistribution to land security. So I think all these have definitely a major agenda. The agrarian agenda is there. Then the APMC system was dismantled by Nitish Kumar. Restoration of the APMC system um, and remunerative prices for the farmers, agro-based industries. So I think the agrarian agenda is there, quite at the center of our charter, but it addresses all aspects.
Dipankar, you talk about the need for even ideology-based party to work taking the reality of caste into account and work according to that. Do you feel that subaltern Hindutva in last few years is a bigger challenge than other things? Because I see that two prominent Dalit caste leaders in India, Jitan Ram Manji represents Musha community, Ram Chirag Paswan represents Paswan community. Also, there is some kind of conflict between the Yadav OBC and non-Yadav OBCs.
No, this is definitely there. That's how Nitish Kumar kind of consolidated his base. See, Lalu Yadav in 1990, in early 90s, he had a pan Bahujan kind of appeal, right? Dalits, minorities, all sections of backwards. Over the years, it shrank. And while it shrank here, and the people who got alienated from this order, so they were all kind of cobbled together and a coalition was formed. And that Nitish Kumar had different names for it, Mahadalit, Pasmanda Muslim, Ati Pichwa, and gave them some kind of reservation and all that. So that's how they kind of created this alternative social coalition to divide the Bahujan society in Bihar. But now, I think increasingly people can realize when the constitution is in danger, when this whole Manuvadis, the Manusmriti, people who used to consider Manusmriti to be the ideal constitution of India, now that they're in power and from that vantage position they are pushing through, they are kind of devaluing the constitution all the time, subverting it. So I think there is a renewed kind of concern for it, which again unites the divided Bahujan society. So that you can see in Bihar. So this is this division which happened, that was real. That is because of the way power was handled. But once again, I think this time round, we see a lot of response from these are not monolithic kind of EBC. There is no monolithic EBC group. So there are different castes. There are different concerns. And for example, this BIP party, IIP party, they are also equally EBC identity based party. You talked about Chirag Paswan, you talked about Jitan Ram Manji, but you go to their communities, you will find there is tremendous anger against them. The way these leaders, they have sided with uncritically with the BJP, while atrocities on Dalits have grown on the ground, while the constitution is being subverted. And these people, SII, for example, Chirag Paswan has been a very staunch votary of SII. Whereas the Paswans in his own constituency, they have been disenfranchised. We had this boy from Ara, a young man, Mintu Paswan, who was declared dead. And he reached the Supreme Court to say that I am very much alive with the election commission, the SIRs, dubbed me dead. So this is the ground reality. And these leaders have absolutely no concern for this ground reality. So that's why I think people are questioning them. So they don't represent the Paswan community and the Musar communities. No, they are leaders with that identity. But I think their grip over their communities definitely is slipping, because all these communities, no community can accept any leadership without any concern for the actual reality that they encounter. So it's the reality which is changing this whole equation again.
And what is it? What is it about the ground reality of Bihar that has allowed it to resist him with what to excel that has?
I think, see, there are two things. For example, when Ambedkar said that if India ever becomes a Hindu Raj, that will be the worst calamity to befall. So who was he addressing? He was not addressing Muslims. He was not addressing Muslims, the minorities. He was addressing precisely the Dalits. He was addressing precisely the people who are today vulnerable to what you call the pressure or the allurement of subaltern Hindutva. That this is not for you. This is where you have been oppressed and excluded all these centuries. So don't fall into this trap. So he was giving the warning precisely to Dalits, to these all disempowered people. Unfortunately, here we even reduced Ambedkar to some kind of iconography. where is an icon, where is the statues, his ideas. Only now I find a very renewed, and it's a very reassuring sign. There is a renewed interest in his ideas. People are, reading the Constitution. They are reading Ambedkar. They are talking about the whole Ambedkarite ideology now. So I see that this is definitely in Bihar. You have a very vibrant communist movement. You have a very vibrant socialist tradition. You have a very vibrant, Ambedkar, then Jagdev Prasad, so many Karpuri Thakur. Even Karpuri Thakur, they are trying to appropriate. They are giving him Bharat Ratna. But what did Karpuri Thakur face? So much of social, insult, humiliation. From whom? From precisely the RSS, precisely the feudal forces, who are today paying lip service to him and trying to appropriate his legacy. So this is where I think Bihar people are very much allied to this. History is very much live in Bihar. So all these decades of struggle, years of phases of struggle, they are still very much a potent force in Bihar.
Dipankar, you just take two big names from the EBC leadership, Karpuri Thakur and Jagdev Prasad. But Jagdev Prasad, I mean, he was not a caste leader as such, but he had a caste.
He used to be called Bihar Lenin.
Yeah, but he had a caste. And now there is a kind of mad scramble among the parties to get the votes of his caste and Kushwaha votes. Do you think is it going to play a major role in deciding the outcome?
No, but all that I'm saying that these castes, they are not unidirectional. So they are not particularly loyal to any coalition. For example, in the last election, we had contested 19 seats. And we have a contingent of 11, 12 members. 4 of them come from the Kushwaha caste background. So they have voted for us. So they are represented everywhere. So Kushwahas and the EBCs, Ara Sudama Prasad, he's an EBC MP. He's a lone EBC MP from the whole India background. And from his caste, I think he's the first MP. This Kanu Halwahi, he's probably the first MP. So people look at our party, all this, that these are parties also stand for, have historically stood for. Rameshwar Prasad, who became MP in 1989, he comes from the Nonia caste, the earth digging, section. So I think that's why this is a myth that EBC, Mahadalis, they are all with Nitish Kumar, they are all with Modi. It's not. It's not. It's all divided. So, I mean, I think except probably for the upper caste kind of, section where you have a very strong pro-Hindutva tilt. So this is the phase when probably there you see very little division. But except that block, everywhere else, Muslims, of course, they have to fight for their security. That's why if the BJP doesn't care for them, the Muslims will naturally not care for BJP. So obviously, but for the remaining, let's say, the 60% of Bihari society, that's open. That's open, and there is no just one-sided kind of loyalty or affiliation to one particular group.
Since we are the last day of this conversation, so we have spoken twice or thrice about Muslims. I'll just ask this question to you. I find a general difference among parties about while it comes to talking about Muslims. Do you think secularism is as an issue does not resonate, does not matter in Bihar?
No, it matters everywhere. See, basically, the point is whoever is oppressed, whoever is being persecuted, you have to stand with the persecuted section. Muslims are being persecuted precisely because they are Muslim. Umar Khalid is in jail and there is no hearing, neither any hearing, no trial, no bail for 5, because his name is Umar Khalid, right? So that's why I think there is no dividends, there is no equivocation. We are openly will say, and that doesn't mean BJP will say this is Muslim appeasement. So the thing is, they from the power they can just give a spin to everything. So no appeasement, but you have to stand with the oppressed. We have to stand with the persecuted and fight against every strain of oppression and this thing. So I don't see that, but maybe in terms of candidature, probably number of Muslim MLAs, so there is a decline. There is a decline, and representation is definitely a big issue. And representation of the community, and then again within the community, again the subaltern section. For example, from Ara, our candidate is Qiyamuddin Ansari. Last time he lost by a very narrow margin of 2,000 votes. I hope he wins. And if he wins, probably he will be one of the very few Ansari MLAs in Bihar. Whereas numerically, that's the biggest section of Muslim community. So that question of representation is definitely there. But people understand that in this scheme of things, where it's all about concentration of power, centralization of power, the resources for Adani and Ambani, entire political power for BJP and RSS, and were absolutely Islamophobic. They don't care. For them, Muslims just do not exist. They are not Indian enough for them. So that's why this question remained. And I'm sure that there will be no difference. I mean, even in India coalition, but secularism, it has to be redefined again. Secularism as religion and separation of religion and politics. Secularism, which obviously cannot be there, no secularism in a multi-religious society unless there is harmony, unless there is this kind of conversation and dialogue. So we are trying on every level. I think secularism is a concern, and Bihar is one state where it has always resonated.
From my side, this is the last question. Maybe Vaishna would like to ask something else after that. So, the RJD, which is leading Mahagathbandhan, to which you are a part, ruled the state for 15 years, from 1990 to 2005. And so last 20 years, Nitish Kumar led NDA is leading the state with some minor disruptions in between. So for 35 years, the face of Bihar leadership is either Nitish Kumar or Lalu Prasad. Now Tejasvi Yadav. Also in the background, Lalu Prasad is there. So do you think there is a possibility of emergence of a new force in Bihar politics? And how do you see Prashant Kishor's emergence there?
No, Prashant Kishor, I think I don't call it actually a party. It's a corporate political project. It's a very, attempt to create a party by injecting capital. So I've always found it very paradoxical that in a state which is known for labor, it's a labor-intensive state, labor migration, labor export, poverty, and here you are trying to create a party top-down just by spending so much of money. It's a completely corporate kind of project, paid employees. So this is, I don't think Bihar is, and he has managed to unravel, quite rapidly in this election. So I hope that the illusion which were there around him, there was a lot of curiosity, there was even a lot of kind of hope around him that maybe here is a new face, new party, with maybe some new discourse, new policies. But the way he has distributed tickets, his candidates, and he talks about, say, the battle is between NDA and his party. Fine. You say that India doesn't exist. Fine, you can say that. But then when you say that your candidates are being pressured by the BJP to withdraw, and we find that all those people, they are immediately jumping in defense of the BJP. They're siding with the BJP. If your battle is with the BJP, then why is it that your candidates who are being forced by the BJP to withdraw, they're all supporting the BJP? So, I mean, this is why I think Prashant Kishor's all this rhetoric, and he was very much anti-movement, and which is where I found him quite similar to, the noise that he's making is quite similar to Modi. Anti-movement. He used to say, Andolan se kya hota hai? Andolan se kya milta hai? So this is like Modi saying, Andolan jivi. So the content for people's movement, which in a democracy is the fundamental way for any transformation. So the legitimacy of the movement, the primacy of the movement, and the centrality of the movement in any scheme of social empowerment and transformation. Without that, nothing can happen. But here is he saying nothing, movement se kya hota hai, ideas, schemes, innovation, some project. So this is, I don't think, it's a political startup, and which is, I don't see it really going anywhere.
So, Dipankar, brings us to the Bihar elections as such. What is your feeling about it? You said in an interview that the India bloc has been more united than the NDA. And taking forward that idea, how has that put to play out on the ground in terms of results?
See, now there are 2-3 things. Of course, as I say, on the ground, people have been waiting for this election, and I call it the pending agenda of change. In 2020 itself, Bihar had indicated that it wants change. The writing on the wall was quite legible. Everybody could read it. But here there have been 2-3 things. One is SIR, which has been a hugely disruptive exercise.
But is the SIR issue resonating on the ground among people?
Obviously, I mean, you don't see SIR obviously in isolation from other issues, but SIR has led to disenfranchisement. You see, so many people came for this church festival, and they are going back. So usually, when they came, they thought they will have celebrate church and we will also cast their votes, and then they find that their names are no longer there on the voter list. They're going back. So SIR definitely it has led to disenfranchisement, and if the disenfranchisement could be limited, because initially I think we were looking at a figure of like 2 crore possible disenfranchisement, and if we succeeded in limiting it to, let's say, 69 lakhs, so that's because Bihar has been very alive and Bihar has been very vocal against it. So SIR resonates, and vote chori, when you said, so people understand that this is not just about stealing vote. So people who will be in power by stealing your election, stealing your vote, they will not care for you. They will not do anything. So they will steal everything. So they will steal your jobs, they will steal your reservation, they will steal your land, and which is what Bihar is experiencing. So it resonates. But I'm saying that SIR is definitely a hugely disruptive exercise. No other state has ever had this kind of experience. So we still don't really know what will be the real impact of SIR. That is difficult to factor it in. Secondly, this unprecedented scale of money transfer, which has never happened anywhere in India before. And thirdly, I mean, we can only talk about elections when you take for granted a certain level of what you call free and fair election. But if the election is totally manipulated, totally one-sided, I just have heard from our Tarari organization that all the booths where we laid in the previous election, where you have good votes, they have been designated as sensitive booths. So here is an Amit Shah saying that we have finished Naxalism, we have finished these, Bihar, we can have one-phase election. And here you are designating every booth where the CPIML or other India coalition parties, they are the, maybe let's say, the locally dominant parties. And there you call these booths sensitive booths. So election will be there is no two opinion about it. Election is going to be heavily manipulated. So how, if I still hope that Bihar can prevail, the people can prevail. So people will have to win in spite of SIR, in spite of all this manipulation, and in spite of this unprecedented money transfer. So these are all the obstacles. It's a hurdle race. So you have to cross all these hurdles. We have crossed several hurdles on the way. There are a few more hurdles there. And I hope that Bihar can cross all those hurdles and give a clear, comfortable majority to India. And the slogan that we gave, Badlo Sarkar, Badlo Bihar, that becomes a reality.
Thank you, Dipankar. That is a very insightful conversation he had with me. And we hope to see you again after the election.
Thank you so much for asking.